Welcome to the Manifestor Only podcast. Today, I have 2-4 emotional manifestor, Anastasia. Welcome so much, Anastasia. I'm so happy to have you here. Now,
Hello, Jessica.
if you could start us off by introducing yourself in the way that feels the most natural to you.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm so glad being here. Thank you for this opportunity to just talk design. We love that. So, yeah, I'm Anastasia, and I'm a human who doesn't feel that way sometimes, but I'm trying humaning every day and mastering the skill. I'm a human design enthusiast who just loves reading about this stuff and loves the deconditioning process because I feel that is the thing that we have to do right now with ourselves to be able to move on in this world. And yes, I will see which part will come out of me today to show you. And I think in the end of this episode, everybody will find out who Anastasia is today.
Just referencing your design a little bit for anybody who's curious, you're a pure individual and you have the head and ajna defined through the 6124. You have the 4323. So we are fellow genius to freaks. And you have the 1222, which is also one of my channels. And you have the 1-8. So when we talk pure individual, we're talking pure individual empowering big ass time.
Yes, exactly.
I would love to hear, what was it like for you to meet human design, and what was the first thing that, when you heard that you were a manifestor and you read about the manifestor and initiation and repelling aura and anger and peace? I mean, how did that feel and how did that land for you to start?
Yeah, that's a very normal and a good question. And I think one of the things that almost everybody has when meeting human design was first this disappointment of, oh, I'm not a reflector. Because everybody feels so unique, and but then when I read like this normal report that you get from the archive, and I was like, of course this makes so much sense because I've been this initiator type since I was a child, even like this silly thing, like if I would like a boy or something, growing up, I would always initiate any contact. Like all of my friends would be, oh no, we're waiting for the boys to talk to us. And I was the only one that would just, what? You're waiting for somebody to come to you and to introduce themselves to you? Like, why? Yes. So it's been always, I always felt this energy. And when I read about it, I was like, wow, it was a moment that really actually brought me outside of the depression that I had at this moment. I was very under stress about finishing my studies at the German Sports University. And yes, I felt so lost because I didn't recognize me in this field anymore. And I was like, what am I even doing? Every time I would sit down to write the thesis, that was the only thing left. I did everything from the studies, but it was only the thesis left. And every time I would sit down to write it, I would cry, and I would wake up almost vomiting, with nausea and stuff. And my body was really rebelling against the things that I thought I had to do, because of course everybody says, like, if you started something, you have to finish it. And actually my whole life, that was what I did. I was the child that I wouldn't like pick up some hobby and leave it after a couple of weeks. If I would start something, I would like really be afraid to stop doing it because I was like, I have to have the stability. I start something, I have to be practical. I have to finish it. I have to move on, keep on with that. And this was like the first thing that I gave up in my life, that I would say, even if it sounds big, like giving up the whole degree. I mean, yeah. This was like the decision that I met a couple of days after I read my report. Actually, I read it and I felt really empowered. I was like, hell yeah, yes, I'm a badass and I can do whatever I want, and I should hear myself. I should hear to what my inner voice is telling me, you know. And just a couple days later, when this emotional clarity came, before that, I never thought about quitting. I didn't have a thought about not doing it till the end. But suddenly, I was standing in my bathroom before going to bed. And it was the first time after like 2 years that I could really look myself in the eyes in the mirror, you know. And I was like, wow, I'm seeing myself again, because that was gone. And suddenly from nowhere came this decision. I didn't even think about it before, but it was like, I have to quit. And suddenly I was so happy about myself. I didn't say anything to anybody. I went to sleep because, you know, we have to sleep on things. So I was like, okay, it sounds reasonable. Maybe not to other people, but to me right now. But I will go to bed and see how I feel about it the next day. So I did this thing, and the next morning I felt even better about it when I was thinking about quitting university. So I was really sure at this point that that's the right thing to do. And you cannot imagine what it was for me, because till that point, I had so many diseases in me. Like daily, I would have 5 to 10 different symptoms, like tummy aches, nausea, back pain, chest pain. Like all my body was, it wasn't functioning anymore. But after uh, making this decision, like 2 days later, everything was gone. So yes, it was a really wow moment for me. I know that a lot of people, when they read the report and they feel empowered and they're like, oh yeah, and I will learn more about myself. But for me, it was a really big wow, because if you suffer so much from so many diseases every day, and you're like slowly thinking like, what the hell am I doing with my life? What am I doing wrong that I'm so sick all the time? And then like just one decision, and 2 days later everything is gone. Of course, the only thing for me was, I'm getting into it, you know. So then that was the time. It was I think April 2022, so almost 2.5 years ago. Yeah, was the point where I said, okay, that's I'm getting into knowing myself better, understanding how am I making the decisions in my life, the big ones, but also the small ones. Everything that I do in life, I just saw how important it is, how much impact it has on my mind and also my health. And that's why I'm such an advocate for it. I know that there is a lot of skepticism in the world around, you know, human design or astrology or some other stuff that are not um, proved till the end. You know, it's that everybody says yes, of course, it's scientifically proven, so that everybody believes it in our yeah, kind of sciencey world right now. You know, the first line word world. Yes, and so I said, okay, I don't care what everybody else thinks. It helped me, so I'm working with it myself, and I will see what happens along the way. And now I'm in this process, and of course, you know, like after some time, the first couple of months were like, I was always almost manic, you know. I had so much energy. I was so empowered. I would like be in this like almost like not villain era, but a really powerful era for a couple of months. I would like, I will do this. I will do that. I will build a community for co-living, whatever. I will step into my 45, you know, and so many things that I thought like I can do. Then, of course, after this first wave passed, there came the real deconditioning, because first there was this wow moment that just yeah, got me out of the depression. And after that, I faced the real work that you do with the deconditioning. And I think you know this part as well. I think everybody who does more than 1 year knows that it gets more complicated with every year. And you have so many phases. Like even now, I'm like, one day, even if I'm a defined head and ajna, I'm like, one day I'm human design is the best. It gives me the answers to everything. I love it, love it, love it. And the next day or a couple of days later, I'm like, what is this shit? Why am I believing all of this stuff? How can I even talk? People don't take me seriously. Like, nobody understands me. And like, of course, sometimes I doubt myself in it, and doubting, why am I even doing this? But then I remember how it all started and how it really helped. And I know that it's working. And yeah, I keep on going, because I just know that it's the right thing in my life. Yeah.
That's such a beautiful story. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the deconditioning process, when you finally really start going into seeing how incredibly incorrect you've lived your life, how, for me, it was like running, the city's largest restaurant, cocktail bar, and nightclub, and working 16-hour days pretty much Monday to Saturday, and then trying to rest on the Sunday and then doing it again the next week. I mean, just utterly disgusted. Like you said, my body too was just like, I wasn't even in contact with it enough to notice how fucked up it was. Right.
Exactly. Yes.
It was just living from my head, living from this, not self of the sacral, of not knowing when enough is enough, but always with that undefined ego where it's like, I'm going to prove that I don't know what enough is enough, or I'm going to prove that I can work really, really hard and harder than everybody else. And I'm going to prove that I can hold on to this job or this thing or this person, or with all of my, with the undefined spleen as well. And so, yeah, it's a hard ass process when you start, what I would just call radically honestly looking at your life and being like, oh shit. And this fucking little map over here is telling me, oh, but this and this is where you struggle, right? And for
Exactly.
you with the undefined root as well. But yeah, I think finding out I was a manifester was not, it took a while for me to find the wow factor in it. Definitely. But I would love to hear more about, we talked a little bit about this before jumping on the podcast, but we have this narrative of manifestors and initiation that is, the Instagram friendly narrative of what a manifestor is. And I would love to hear your opinion and your thoughts around that.
Of course. Yes. As we talked with you before, it's one of the major topics for me, because, and for a lot of other manifestors, um, the theme of everybody online talking about, especially the poppy pages, saying, oh, yes, you're a manifestor and you have to accomplish those big things and change the world and conquer everything and um invent something new, and you're a trailblazer and stuff like this. And it's nice reading stuff like this about you. Maybe in the beginning, it's, of course, it's empowering, but then when you start living it and you're like, yes, but I'm also just a human, and I'm just living, me especially, just a normal life, being a mom. And it makes a lot of pressure, and a lot of it brings a lot of confusion also, because you're like, yeah, but manifestors are like 8 to 9% of the world. There cannot be so many innovative so many people that invent new stuff, and that are uh, so empowering, so maybe it's also about being impactful, but on a smaller scale, but it's still important, because for me, not only the big stuff is important, everybody is important, even everybody you talk to, every single person, because we're talking about differentiation here. So um, for me, everybody is unique, everybody is important. So for me, it's also about the impact I have on my day-to-day life, with my friends, with the people I talked to at the bakery, right, today in the morning, because before I came here, just talking to an old man that would just stop me and say, "Hey, I caught your side, and I felt this energy between us, and it was so sweet, And then we just talked about the world, and and I'm like, hey, he thanked me for making his day a little bit nicer, and I'm like, okay, this is, of course, this is not what a lot of people would imagine what success would be like, or would mean like to accomplish yourself. But for me, this is accomplishment. This is like having the right impact on my son, who is also a manifestor, and having the impact on the small, in the small conversations and day-to-day situations in my life. And sometimes I don't see it right away. Sometimes people would call me after that and say, "Hey, you remember that thing that you told me that helped me so much?" And I'm like, "What did I tell you again?" Like I would not even remember what I said. But yes, that's how it happens for me. And it makes, I would say, all of the narrative about having to do all of this big stuff is actually making me sad sometimes, because of course my undefined ego then says, "Oh yeah, of course we have to prove ourselves, and of course we can earn much more money than everybody else, and we can be so successful." And only knowing that helps me, this awareness for that helps me to stop myself and to say, "Hey, I don't have to, like, not everybody has to be successful in this way." And yes, that's the way I see it. Yeah. And I think that I hope that more and more people will get out of this narrative, and they start seeing their impact, their actually huge impact in their daily lives.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. That narrative of reinventing the wheel because you're a manifestor has been very detrimental to my deconditioning journey. And I think there might be something to be said about the fact that we both, you're a cross of rulership, I'm a cross of informing, meaning my personality, sun and earth, is your design, sun and earth. And so we have that gate 22, the gate of dealing with the mundane, right? The gate of just life is just this beautiful small moment kind of thing. And I think it's so important to remember that. And what you're pointing at here, just that conversation you had with that man at the bakery, that was impactful. And, I joke about this one time where I was in line at the store and I was buying ice cream. I just had 2 ice cream cones, and the guy in front of me, he had, his full entire cart with just like, for weeks on end of food that he was buying. And I just carefully asked, like, "Excuse me, could I go in front of you? I just have these ice creams." And he was so impacted by that question, because that's not something you usually do in Norway.
No.
We throw ourselves in Norway, right? But hey, I'm also a little bit American, so I do this shit. But the way he looked at me and the way he was just like flabbergasted that this happened, that someone would ask this question, and then he let me, because he understood the point of like, my ice cream's going to fucking melt and you're in line and you are going to take 10 to 15, 20 minutes at least. But then when we're leaving, my husband's like, oh my God, he's going to go home and he's going to tell that story to everybody around the dinner table. And I'm like, that is the ripple effect of the manifestor.
Yes.
And that might impact someone in his family to be like, oh, you know what? That's a good thing. I could ask to go in front of someone so my ice cream doesn't melt. Just like it's so small. It's so tiny. But that's really where we have to bring our impact down to. And I think I hope every single manifestor that's listening to this, and anybody who has manifestors in their lives that want to support them, really show them how they impact in the smallest ways possible. And for some people, of course, reinventing the wheel is exactly what they're supposed to do. But I really believe that for me, and the way you've also experienced, it's like, well, it is those small, small moments of like, I don't remember what I said, but I obviously changed your life.
Yes. Jessica, I'm sure in 1 or 2 years, everybody is doing this in Norway. You started something there.
I would hope so. It's sad when ice cream melts.
Of course. Couldn't be worse.
No, but I think, yeah, it's a really important topic because, we're always talking about human design as the science of differentiation. And it's so easy. And I see it myself too when I'm trying to, I haven't posted on Instagram like a post in very long time, because it is so hard for me to dissect it into just a 10-word post or a 15-slide post or whatever it is, because when we do that, you lose the nuance, right? You're losing so much of the nuance. And so that's really what I'm loving about this podcast, is really being able to see all these nuances in being a manifestor, in being a minority of the 8 to 9%. But there is no recipe. There is no 1, 2, 3 step. This is how you are a manifestor. It's just not the way it works,
Exactly. And I think that's one of the critiques that we get that I get a lot of times when I tell somebody about human design. And when you start telling, oh, there's those 5 types, and people who are, who have something in their heads, that know how to think in a science way, and they're like, yeah, but like dividing people in just like 5 types doesn't sound that serious. And that's the part that gets me every time, because I'm like, yeah, of course, that's why there is so much more underneath that. And of course you have to get there first, but yeah, that's the thing, that each type, and then the manifestor as well, that yes, that's the name, but underneath of that, each manifestor is their own type of manifestor, and everybody operates in a different way, even the same emotional authority, depending on which channel defines it, right? Could be such a different process, and for every emotional authority, I'm talking emotional because I'm one, this emotional clarity feels different, and for me, even, it's like, even time to time, every different decision this clarity feels in a different way. So yes, nuance is a favorite word of ours that is so important, just because it really is, just like anything in life. The categories, they help us to learn about stuff, but in the end, if you don't look at the nuance, you're just getting lost again in the whole information.
Yes. Such a great way to put it. There's another narrative out there that we've spoken of when it comes to motherhood and being an undefined sacral. And I know that's something that rubs you up of being a mom, and you're also the mother of a manifester. And so what has it been like to see that narrative of like, well, you are an undefined sacral, therefore you should not have children. And then being a mom, tell me about that.
Yeah, so I found out about that after I became a mom. So it was like, oh, that's inconvenient. So, but I was like, um, I don't dig that way of thinking. I mean, as one of my teachers that I learned human design from, she's a Russian, um, said, it's not that you cannot be a projector, a reflector, a manifester, and a parent. It's just that you need more help. You know, everybody needs help parenting because we need the tribe for that. We need the village. I know there's a lot of talk about of that in the parenting communities online, but it's just that the non-sacrals need even more help because we have this limited energy. But I don't think that it's an excuse not to be one, right? And it's I can imagine it could be a very harmful narrative going around and telling people, oh, you don't have tribal energy in you, or you don't have a defined sacral, so you don't have the consistency to do all of this. Yes, I can tell you as a mother, there is freaking hard being a mom with an undefined sacral, because all of the guilt that you have, that you don't have so much energy to do so much stuff with your child, or that you're exhausted after 2 hours at the playground or something like that. But I mean, we are the best parents for our children, you know. So my son is a manifester. I'm a manifester mom. And even if I don't have this sacral energy to be this multitasking princess at home who gets everything done and who's always so energized and can do anything, still, I think to my child, I'm the right parent because me as a manifester, I can understand him the most, being a manifester, even though he's an ego manifester, and that's a complete different thing, of course. But still, the essence of having this aura, you know, of always just having this wishes inside that you just want to, you know, those urges that you have the urge and that you want to uh, do them right away, and that you want to be like the main character and that you want everybody to follow you and to listen to you and to yeah and just to keep up. And it's a journey. It's definitely a journey because right away when I found out that I'm a manifester, and then a couple weeks later I thought, oh, I will check who my child is energetically. And then I was like, oh wow, that makes a lot of sense. Even though he was really small at that time, it of course I saw it right away, and I was like, okay, so I feel that there's my mission, helping him in this world that always wants to make manifestors small, you know, always trying to suppress, um helping him navigate through this world, helping him not getting so conditioned as I got as a child, even though I also had both emotional manifestors, grandparents who raised me partially. Um, Actually, when I look back, I see that they could support me the best from all of the people that I had in my family raising me. They were the ones that always understood me best, and now I know why. You know, because my grandmother, she was also a 2/4 emotional manifester, with almost like with some other children, but also with the defined head and everything. And always in the family, there were comparisons. She died 20 years ago, And but everybody was always telling me how much I'm similar to her, you know, that I have the same kind of way of operating in the world. And when I found out about that, I was like, whoa, I really get it right now. So yes, back to being the manifestor mom of the manifesting child, I understood my role in the world also, because come on, children, our future, and it's so important what we give them uh, in our parenting journey, in our just in being with them, what we teach them or what we tell them, like everything is so important, because then we let them go in the world and impact the world. And so it's up to us how we do this. And yeah, so I think that's an also very important part, because so I care about the future, you know. And even though I'm just one person, maybe other people will also understand the importance of being a parent and doing it the right way, even though there is no right way, but the right way for your child. Yeah, so that's the important part of understanding who your child is and who you're dealing with at all. Yeah.
Yeah. Your son is a 2145 ego manifestor, right?
Yes.
And I think that I would love to hear. I mean, how old is he now again?
He's gonna be 5 this month. Yeah,
25.
in 2 weeks. Yeah.
Oh,
And yes, he's with every year, with every month, I'm seeing more and more of this energy, you know, enveloping on the to the outside. And the more since he started talking, I could even more like recognize this energy, because before that it was just, you know, like him being a toddler or a baby, you know, just seeing that he would just like go and take stuff. He would never ask, you know, and he would just do. And it was so funny sometimes when he just started walking, and we would go to playgrounds. And in Germany it's like that all of the parents at the playground, they have some food with them, and it's actually normal that we share the food, you know, and that it's normal that some other child could come to you and like ask, oh, can I have some of your carrots or whatever, and stuff like this, because it's yeah, that's the culture here, at least in Cologne. And he was like, you cannot even know, he would just go to every, because he loves food anyway. Yeah. And he would, as soon as we would get to the playground, he would go to each of the banks and to everybody, and he would just collect food. Yeah. Sometimes with in the beginning, of course, without asking, because he would barely talk. Yeah. And I would really had to teach him to like ask first, please, you know, because if you ask, you get almost anything you want. And it's really the rule with him. We would sometimes like walk by some shop, and he would say to the owner, oh, I want this, and they would give it to him just without paying anything. I was like, oh, I see this now. I get it. And this still happening. He's 5 now, and it's like he just needs to want something, and he gets it for free. And I'm like, you go, boy. Yeah. So I'm trying to teach him how to inform, because it's not our natural strategy, right? So yeah, at least sometimes ask for permission, or sometimes even just say, hey, I want to do this or that. I want to take your stuff, because and he's started now with almost 5 years old, seeing the importance of that, because there were a couple of situations where he would just take something from somebody's bag because it was just laying there, and he would yeah, not was not nothing big, but you know, he wouldn't get then, because people are like, oh, somebody goes in my bag without asking, of course I'm forbidding that then taking anything from there. And yeah. I said, yeah, but look, if you asked my friend if you can have this stuff, maybe she says yes. And the next time he did it, and he saw, oh, so if I ask, mostly the world opens up to me, right? So yes, that's the thing we're doing right now.
I think that's so, it's so funny and so cute at the same time. I have a 3-year-old godson who has a lot of other channels going on, but he also has that 2145. And it's just the same with him. And especially that whole purse thing. He will go in my bag and I'd be like, sweetheart, you have to ask. You have to ask, what can I go into your, can I look in your bag? And they're like, can I? Just like, oh, okay, because I know you're gonna say yes.
Same.
Like, okay, here, you can go through it. And it just, yeah, things just show up for him. He just gets what he wants. He just informs the world that this is what I need, and then that happens. But it's really interesting with these ego defined manifestors, because I have another manifestor godson who does not have his ego defined versus this 3-year-old with his ego defined. And it's like, my mom said it the best. When the 3-year-old comes into the room, he knows he belongs. He just, here I am, take me or leave me kind of thing. But when the 7-year-old, I said 5 earlier, he's 7. When the 7-year-old comes in, he does not have that same belonging that the defined ego has. And it's just really interesting to notice. But I'm also curious about, you being a pure individual and then having this very tribal son. And that's no pun intended, because you have the 45 personality son, and then your kid son is a 4521. And how does that feel? How does that play out with this individuality and the tribalness of your son?
Yeah, that's a good question, because I'm still exploring my individuality. And as I told you earlier, just like the last couple of months, I felt this urge to let my individuality out, to live it more. Because since I became a mom, of course, my focus became the child, because for me it was important also, like, to focus on this one thing, not to spread in different directions. I kind of suppressed all of this individuality, and it would just cause a lot of tension at home, because of course the the individual energy wants just to empower everybody, but not everybody gets it, right? And the me having this tribal personality son, but looking at the channels being a pure individual, is kind of controversial, but it also, like, shows how I'm being individual on this tribal level, like being an individual mom, being a mom in an individual way, right? Like, even if you ask anybody from, yeah, my friends or my family, like, how am I doing this, they would say, oh, she does it differently, very differently. So yeah, that's the part of, I'm still in this tribal situation, right, in having the family and being a parent, but always naturally trying to do it not as everybody else, trying to do it in an individual way. Yes, and it's starting, I think, even because we're talking about this now, it's starting about working with myself, with human design, right? Trying to get to know myself better for being also a better mom, then trying to understand my son through it, to in being able to understand him better, right? And that's not something that everybody does, right? So even this, I find, is a kind of expression of individuality, right? And Also, the ways I parent. A lot of people would think that I'm spoiling my child or being too, I would not say nice, but like letting him too much freedom, too many choices. But because I do this way, I just have to, because I feel that I want to support him being a manifester, and that's the way to do it, right? Because I don't want him to be so conditioned as I got as a child at school or later on, yeah, in high school and stuff. And yeah, I just want to be there for him and really, really see him, because that's one of the most important parts that parents can give their children, and that's being seen for who you are, and not having those expectations from the parents. Because my son is also 5'1", so of course there's always expectations about him from everybody. Oh, you should not be like this. You should be more quiet. You should not be that wild or whatever. And he's a real wild child. And yes, it's very hard, because it feels sometimes like the whole world is against you, because not a lot of people do this. I mean, in our time right now, there's a lot of stuff, or also online, or like people try to show other people, hey, um, we try to reconnect with our children, right? We try to see them more for who they are. And there is this way of thinking already in our collective consciousness somewhere, but it's still such a small seed. So I feel also that it's part of my contribution to do this way, to be maybe a role model for somebody someday of how you can support your child, because I really think that it's important. And I just do it out of love, because I could not even imagine it any other way. Because if you love your child, and of course, everybody, 99.9% loves children, um, that's the thing to do. Yes.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And I think as that, inspirational role model with that 1/8 of just like, this is how I identify with being a parent. That's what I'm hearing, throughout your entire talk about how you do that. And it is, that pure individual, and just any individual channels. It's like, it's hard, and it's a little bit vulnerable to allow yourself to go there and to actually be what you can feel is true inside of you. And I can only imagine, because I don't have kids, but I can only imagine what the collective then kind of pushes on of expectations for the mother, for the person that's the caretaker. And, we're still kind of going from this, what I'm seeing, in this newer generation, which, you would also be a part of, because you're born in 94.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm born in 85. So, right, we have a decade of age gap. But what I'm seeing with parents who are in your age, there is this just let them be kind of narrative, right? What doesn't kill them makes them stronger kind of thing. And as long as it doesn't kill them, I'm going to say
definitely.
yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah, that's a big theme actually in my day-to-day life, because boundaries are very important for children, so they have the safe space to explore, right? But it's so tricky. It's like for me, it's every time I set a boundary, or every time I have to say yes or no, it's like a brain fuck for me, because I'm like, okay, is it dangerous? Can he kill himself with that? Or is it necessary right now to say no? Like, I maybe want to say no because it's comfortable for me right now, because I don't want to do this thing that he wants to do. But it's actually important for me to to help him in his exploration. So you have to choose all the time between, of course, if you want to give this to your child, this let them be. Of course, sometimes you have to put yourself second, or even not second, even last, because then you think, okay, what is more important right now? That I just don't want to do something, or that he gets to express his energy. And for me, most of the time, the expression of his energy is way more important, right? Like, only if I'm like this close to a mental breakdown, I'm gonna be, no, sorry, no, we're not going to do this right now, because otherwise you're not gonna have a good time as well. But yes, setting those boundaries, and every time, like, you have to also, it's so nuanced, right? Because of course, like, small children, they don't see this nuance. They sometimes have to have this clear boundary of yes or no. But when they're getting older, they understand sometimes, okay, this is yes right now because that and that. But in another situation, the same thing could be a no because it's another situation, right? So it's getting easier for me because I like the nuance, and I like it that it could be different, that it's not always just, oh, it's just a no because it's a no, just out of principle. Like, I don't like this. I have always questioned it myself, all in life, being a child in school, or then working for somebody later on. I could not just take a no because it's a no. I was like, but why? So yes, it's getting easier because he understands more, and I can teach him this nuance. And yes, I now I lost the train of thought, but I think we also finished it.
I was gonna say, I don't know. We were somewhere there.
We were somewhere there.
Yes.
Yeah, we were there, that we wanted the children to be themselves and just let them be. Yeah. And that was our finishing line, that yes.
Yeah. So something that you said stuck out to me, which is true. And again, I can only assume because I have not taken on this role of being a mother. But you have to put yourself aside. And I see that with my sister as well, who is an MG. She's a 3420 MG as well. And she's got a whole bunch of stuff happening in the in the integration circuitry. And then she only has the 3740 connecting her ego to her solar plexus. But what I'm seeing with her as very individual kind of parent, but also an individual parent with energy, right? She has that sacral energy. But it is very apparent to me when the melancholy of her individuality, she's also a 4323, and she's got some other individuality things going on there. But when the melancholy of her individuality is not allowed to be honored. And I know that you and I spoke before we started recording about, getting into this creative outlet and giving yourself room to play. And so how do you see yourself balancing that part of being able to, give up part of who you are in this moment because my son needs to have his expression honored? And that balancing act of allowing yourself to be in that creative space of allowing the melancholy, allowing that nothing is going on, the pulse is off kind of thing of the individual circuitry.
Yes. That's a really nice one, because it not only has to do with me being a parent, but also being a partner to my now future husband. And when I understood how essential it is to let yourself be on the ground, down on this wave of the emotional wave, and how when I let myself be there, how when I let myself be in this melancholy, it transforms into something beautiful, either into some epiphanies or into something beautiful, creative. Either it would be a piece that I would play on the piano, or maybe, um, or even maybe sometimes a conversation. But it's really so, so important to let yourself be this sad little thing and not being judged for that, because my partner is an open emotional. So I can only imagine how hard it is to get all of those emotions all of the time, and what it is still such a battle, of I really have to fight for allowing myself, and also being allowed, getting this time and the space for being in this melancholy. And then also the part where I would also be aware of the fact that I don't need people around me at this point. Because before I found out about that, I would always want to be with my family, because I was thinking, hey, also like a normal thing that for example, a therapist would tell you, yeah, when you get sad and you have those depressive episodes, it's better that you get out there and you be with people and you do something. And that's what my mind would tell me, right? It's better to be with people. But then I would see how I'm not only harming them with my mood, but also not letting myself the space, right, to live it out. And it was like always bad for everybody, for all of the parties of this constellation of this emotional wave. So at one point, a friend of my mother, who is also into human design, and she was one of the first that also taught me some other stuff about this, and she's also an emotional manifestor of 2-4. That was a really nice coincidence. She told me, like, hey, try at least once, like if you feel it, that you're down there, just go to another room or go for a walk alone. Give yourself some space. Give yourself some space to cry or to think or whatever. Just to be, right. Just to be in the state without somebody expecting you to be in this amazing mood and to entertain everybody, right. And as soon as I started doing this, I saw I saw the beauty in it, right? Because the melancholy, I don't remember where I read it. Maybe it also was something from Ra, that it's like the pregnancy with the art, right? So I really felt how productive it is for me, because I'm such a creative person, to let it happen. And then first, which is amazing, the wave goes up after that. If you let yourself be there just for a moment, if you let yourself be there down on the wave. And secondly, yes, it stops. It gets me out of this feeling as if I'm suffocating with my emotions, because if you suppress them, of course they're boiling inside of you and want to get out. But I saw that it's much better to give me this space and to let everybody else be and do their thing, and then get back to them, and then it's all fine, right? And that's what I'm doing now. I forget it sometimes, of course, but every time I do it again, I'm, oh no, 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 go do your thing. I'm doing my thing. And then I start feeling how the creative energy really as I told you, starts wanting to go inside because it feels free. And you saw also I have the hanging 55 in my defined solar plexus. So I really need this freedom of expressing my emotions. And I can do this good sometimes with some friends and stuff, but first it needs some solitude. Yes.
Yeah, that's gorgeous. And I keep seeing your 2-4 profile as well in this story, where it's like that need to hermit, that need to be with yourself, but also that people fatigue of the fourth line of just like, I'm done with people right now. So I don't care if my therapist says that you should be around people when you're feeling down, because I just want to fucking be alone.
Yes.
You know?
Absolutely. That's really important. That's why I'm saying, like, I love the therapy process, and it helped me a lot, because when I started I was in a really it was an acute state, and I really needed the coping mechanisms. But after that, I felt I only started thinking more. I stopped feeling the feelings, and I only started strategizing about what am I doing with them. And that's not the way it's done. I think a lot of people know already that it's so yeah, it's so important feeling the feelings. Otherwise, they're not going anywhere, and they're causing disease, and they're causing pain, and you're only getting stuck in this whole loop of not getting out of there.
I mean, I also got a lot out of therapy. But the basis of his work with me was cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT.
Yes, me too.
Right? And that is very much analyzing, getting yourself out of the mix and analyzing. And I'm like, I love the part of getting myself out of the mix, of like seeing it from a distance, but not needing to analyze anymore.
Yes.
Now just being able to watch and be like, oh, that's where we're at.
That's why the mostly the first course in human design is called living, right? Because you have to live yourself.
Yeah.
That's why it's sometimes I really like to dig deep in the information that we get in design, right? It's so amazing. Like also my define head, when it's interested in the topic, is like, yes, give me more, give me more. But also, as my teacher said, this information is actually only for the head to be like convinced that it's working, right? But the main part is going out there and living it. And that's the parallel of design, the information that you get from your design and therapy, that yes, you can learn a lot about yourself, a lot of details, but it's important not to get lost in the details, not to get lost in the mental process. And we know right now that it's essential for us to get out of our heads right now and back to our bodies, and feel all the feels.
Yes.
Yes.
So I'm curious. I feel like taking this conversation to a little bit of a different perspective here, but this is my conditioning around what being born in Russia means. Because there is this narrative out there of Russian people being people as a whole, as a collective, being very stoic, very work ethic, very, this is how it's going to be done, and this is the way it's going to be done, and very within a box of living, right? I don't know if that's true. You'll have to tell me.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. But I'm wondering if that is true, do you feel like that conditioning of what I would okay, I'm trying. I'm having an insight in real time here now. I did not
Mhm.
go here, but
That's fine. I'm open. I'm also right now processing what you said, and I have some
yeah.
thoughts on that. Yeah.
So there's something about this that I'm wondering, as a manifestor woman,
Yeah.
being born in Russia with the conditioning of Russian culture. I know you didn't live there for long, but I would love to hear if you feel like that has helped you own that manifestor energy. Yeah, and that's where I'm at. I'm going to stop there.
Yeah. Just give me a sec. Um, I must say, even though, as you said, sometimes you can think that the Russian culture is a bit frigid in the way that, the roles, the women and men. Of course, it's still very present even nowadays. I um, haven't been to Russia for now over 13 years, and I stopped living there when I was 12. Now I'm 30, so that's a long time. But not a lot of stuff changed this in this time. If you think about the roles, right? And but that's the weird thing for me. Like mostly when I was living there, I could say that I was more in my power than after moving from there. Of course, it can maybe it has something to do with the ages because I was 12. It's being a teenager going to another country. Then we moved to Bulgaria with my mom. But and maybe it also has to do with because in Russia I was living with my grandparents, with the Manifestors,
Mm.
and they were like this living role models of what it means to be different, because they were really really different from all of the people around us. Like my grandmother, for example, she was a teacher, and she wasn't teaching in a school just a couple of years, and then she stopped because yeah, she didn't like having a boss and stuff like this. And she started selling fruits and vegetables at the street, the market, because she liked being this like independent, not being dependent on some system, right? And because of them supporting me so much, and also I had a very good um a teacher in my elementary school, who also saw me very good. She was young, and I kind of feel that there, even though I was this initiative energy among my classmates and everything, somehow they would let me. Like I was the one, like in the first grade, I would write a letter to the director of the school with suggestions what should be changed, and stuff like that. Of course, nobody else did it. And even in the kindergarten, I would start doing this, like going to the principal and saying, "Hey, I don't like this. I think this is unfair," or whatever, and really talking to the grown-ups, like as if I'm one of the grown-ups, and really trying to make them yeah, follow my urge, right, to change something in this actually very rigid system, right? And it kind of worked there. I don't have right, I don't have this full explanation right now. I don't have this knowledge, but I think it was this my close environment that was empowering me extra, so I would not feel that I have to conform. It all started more um, later on when we moved to Bulgaria, and there I was this already the foreigner child, right? The new child also, and I think it was just too much at the same time of being this different in every kind of way. Yeah, so there started the problems where my initiative energy was not so welcomed. But also later on, I found my people, right? The fourth line brought me to my friends that till now I'm kind of crazy in some ways and I do everything my way, but they honor it and respect it. And that's the reason I'm their friend at all. Because, yeah, that's, I think that's the thing also that made them my friends, because they liked it. Also, example, like the first friend I got there in Bulgaria, we were in the same class. I just yeah, when I found out about human design, when it got into my life, I looked at her design. Like I saw that all of my friends are manifesting generators. Surprise, surprise. um, because I think I always felt this manifesting part, right? Being very yeah, a friendshipy like for me, because I liked also them being initiative, and yes. And then I saw my friend's chart, my best friend's chart, and she's of course also a pure individual, like 61 24 43 20 43 23 1 8, and then the 214, like the missing part to my hanging 14. So it all made sense. And then the other friends are also like very similar, very. So yes, I kind of found my collective there. And yeah, and it was all fine in the end, but I really struggled there when I came there, because there was a lot of bullying in the school. And yes, the part where I felt more and more alienated from the rest of the people got only worse at some point. And already in the age of 12, I started, that's when the first times, when I started thinking about what is wrong with me, because before that it was like, oh, I'm just living my life, I'm like this and I'm doing everything and it's fine, I have friends. But um there were the first self-optimizing thoughts that I had, like, how can I fit in better, right? What should I change in myself? How can I improve myself? Yeah. And that's where the self-destruction started, right? Because being a pure individual means doing everything in your own way. And there suddenly you start getting the thoughts, oh, you're not right, or you're too much. Of course, like number one, the being too much. And that's where the real conditioning set in for me, where it started, where my thoughts, the first thought, I can even remember like the day where I'm walking from school. I'm 12 years old and I'm having this internal conversation, like as if with somebody. I have this a lot.
Yes.
Like when I need to process something. Yes. And thinking about, hey, how can I improve? How can I change? How can I make myself more likable, because I thought that I'm not liked enough. And of course it's normal, especially being a manifestor, but and all of the other variables as well of me being this new child. But yes, that's where it all began. I can remember that very well.
Wow.
Yes.
That's kind of interesting that you can pinpoint it so specifically to that moment of like, oh, that's when I started to really
Yes.
conform, right? Find out, how can I conform? How can I fit in? So I guess there was some validation for why I suddenly connected Russia to being a manifestor. I don't know. It just came to me like, okay, I'm not going to let this go. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, I feel like I want to round off our conversation with being that quote unquote masculine energy of a manifestor.
Mm-hmm.
How does that work out today as an adult for you? You're 30, you just turned 30?
I just turned 30 last month. Yeah.
Yeah. So what does it feel like now? We've talked a little bit about how it was in the start and then when you were 12, but now you're in Germany, you're a mother, you have a partner, you're on the move to Turkey. What is it like today to be that woman in a manifestor aura?
You know, the topic changed. It's not about because since I'm deconditioning, I don't find myself having a problem anymore being the woman and an initiator at the same time, at least in my head. But there's always a but. um, maybe I can go back to the topic with my relationship where, my partner is a manifesting generator. And even though he has this manifesting part, still, of course, if you look at the dynamic of both of us, it's like, of course, I'm the manifester. Of course, somebody would say, I have to be the one that initiates everything also in the relationship. Mm. But as a woman, even though I have this masculine energy, and of course I know that if I say, oh yeah, let's do this or let's do that, it's going to happen mostly. But there is this wish of being receptive, right? Just because there's so much talk also around online of finding this divine feminine, and as a woman being so receptive and tapping into this feminine energy, which is, I'm like, it's also, I'm telling myself and also other people when I talk about it, it's like I find it limiting. I find it not nuanced enough, not differentiated, because I think I can be both, right? Even though, even as a manifestor, I'm a masculine energy mostly, and even I saw like this in one of the apps you can see like percentage of how many gates you have in the masculine and feminine. Even there, most of my gates are masculine. And still, as in my human form, I'm a woman. There's this need of being receptive, and this is a point where I struggle actually every day, because it's hard to choose, or it's hard to like, um, in best case, you're balanced, right? Because women and men have both of the energies, but stop listening to your head and just be in the moment as you are, sometimes receptive, because it's like just the natural thing to do in that situation, or sometimes being the manifester and initiating the stuff in the relationship. It's it's a process of surrender, I guess. Also one of major topics in design, right? Surrendering to life, surrendering to everything that happens. And that's the thing that I guess it's just also number one thing that I also always get back to when my head starts thinking too much, right? This or that. You don't have to choose, right? There is no choice anyway. So depending on the situation, I let my body choose, or I try to feel more what is my body wanting right now, right? And then communicating it in the right way, right? Also through the channel, and telling my partner, for example, what I need in this moment. Do I want to be also still learning? Because sometimes I just want him to decide, right? He's the man, let him decide. But he's also sometimes confused because he says, sometimes you don't want to decide at all. But sometimes you really want to be to the decision maker. And he's sometimes really confused because like, just choose what you want to do. And then I'm telling him, yeah, but it's not that simple, because sometimes I really don't know what I want, because, the open sacral also sometimes just doesn't know what to respond to. And I really prefer him to just see what his response is, and then I just do the thing with him, which I also find important, because for him it's, I think, more frustrating if he doesn't do the thing that he wants to do, or that he responds to. In the end, he's the energy that's gonna pull us all together. That's why. But then I said, look, sometimes I really feel that, hey, this is the thing that I know is the right thing. I know it's the right thing to do, or the right thing to say. And then I have to find a way, giving him a sign that, hey, this is the time. It's I'm on it. Yeah. And I made this example with my partner because it's the person that I have to most to do with in my day-to-day life, right?
Yeah.
And yes, that's the thing that I'm still in the process of learning. How do I delegate, right? How do I communicate? When is the time I'm being receptive and just following him? And when is the time that I'm in my power and I need to be initiating? And that's not really often, I must say, right? Because I'm a lot of of the times in my rest cycle, right? Where I'm just, hey, I'm doing whatever you're doing, and I'm doing what needs to be done at home or in life with the child and with you. But otherwise, I'm just on bypass. Yes, and yes.
Yeah, that the same dynamic with me and my MG husband, where he's also undefined or completely open, actually, in his plexus. So we have that same dynamic there, where the individual circuitry is fickle. It's like we never know. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And
yes,
same with the emotionality as well, where it's just like, I don't know. I don't know if I want to be, the person taking charge right now, or if I want to lean back and let you take charge. And it's so funny because when you were speaking now, I could remember so specific times where I've gone to my husband and been like, okay, like say we're going to buy a carpet, like a used carpet from someone. That's happened a few times. And so I'll be like, you talk to the person, you be the person that goes in, and, I'll just be on the back side and I'll just, whatever. And then we get there, and then suddenly I'm in and I'm talking to the guy and I'm doing the thing and I'm initiating, I'm creating, and he's just sitting on the sideline like, you just told me to take that role. Like, what the fuck are you doing? So there's times where it's like I have this thought process in my head of like, okay, now I'm just gonna lean back, but then I'm suddenly in it. And it's like, and I told him, I'm like, I don't know that's gonna happen. Sometimes it doesn't happen. Sometimes it happens the way I wanted it to, or spoke it, where I was like, I just want to lean back. But then there are other times where that initiation part of me is just like, okay, ready to go. We're going to do this. And it's so in the moment, even though we're talking about the emotional authority and blah, 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 but everything is in the moment.
Yes, yes. Yes, that's also what I thought just a couple of days ago. I had this, sometimes I really need the time, but actually life is happening in the moment. So with a lot of stuff, especially like smaller decisions, I sometimes feel like it's also almost so similar to the splenic authority, for example, because I can only know just before I do the thing if I'm in the right emotional state for that, right? So I cannot plan that much, or I cannot take that much time to decide, because I'm like, yeah, right now I feel this way, but
yes,
when I go back home and when 2 days pass, I don't know where my wave is gonna be. Sometimes like I can predict sometimes, because I sometimes feel, right, being on top or already like sliding down slowly. So I could sometimes feel and already tell somebody, hey, I already feel the tendency going that way. So let me sleep over it, but I feel it's going that way. But mostly, as you said, you never know. And it's this knowing in the now, especially in the individuality, that I don't know what I'm going to say when I get there, especially when I connect with the person or I see how the situation is, or the environment. Am I going to be stimulated to talk, or am I going to be more like, oh no, I don't feel like it, and do the thing. And yes, it's so spontaneous, and you just have to go with the flow, and you have to surrender, as we always say, and just do the living part.
That's beautiful. I feel like, I've gone through the topics and the questions, and I'm feeling very complete here, but I would love to ask, is there anything you would like to add to the conversation? Is there something you feel like we haven't spoken to or spent enough time on today?
No, I think I also feel the same way you do, that we have a nice rounded ending. Of course, in my head, there's so much more that I think, oh, in this topic, I can go so much deeper and so more honest. And especially, this self-destruction part. But for me, it's most of this part is in the past. And even though I'm still in the process of becoming less self-destructive, the process is not done, so I cannot talk about it. My 47 cannot process through it till the end. So I also feel that we got all of the topics around it, and yeah, I feel peace. So that's a good sign.
That's a very good sign.
Yeah.
So, anybody who's listening who would like to connect with you or work with you, Anastasia, where can they find you, and what do you do?
What do I do? Yeah, that's a good question, because as I told you, like, I'm a full-time mom, and I've done some readings in the past, and that was a lot of fun. And I love working with people and helping them in some ways, and just getting to impact somebody. Of course, that's the gig, right? So but it's also not something that I do on a daily basis. Like, I haven't it's still not a part of my life that I say, hey, I just because I do human design for myself, I need to earn money with that or whatever. If there's somebody interested, if somebody like my voice or liked my topics or feel like they want to connect, I'm open to a lot of ways, and that we can do it, either as readings or just chatting, where they can find me on Instagram, for example. I don't have a human design profile or anything. You can link my profile, so anybody can find me. I'm there. They can see my face. So yeah, and I'm open to it. And yeah, especially, as you know, if the topic is right, if the chemistry is matching, I'm open to anything in the world. So yes, let's keep it open, and the right people will find me. I'm really convinced in that.
Love that. Such a 2-4 thing. It's like,
Yes,
I can serve it over here, but if the network brings my people, okay, let's do it.
Mostly, like always, it's always my network. Yeah. Even the studio that I'm sitting and recording it, of course, it's of a friend of mine. Yeah. And yes, very thankful for that. And it's a different kind of life.
And could people book sessions with you in German or Russian?
Good question. I speak 4 languages right now. It's German, English, Russian, and Bulgarian. And I can do the readings in all of the languages, because they're all of them are on the same level kind of. Yeah. Awesome. And yeah. So
good to know.
Feel free.
All right. Thank you so much for joining this conversation, Anastasia. It's been such a gift and pleasure to have you on this podcast.
Thank you, Jessica. That's been a really nice experience for me, because, as I said in the beginning, the hermit in me doesn't want to show up outside, doesn't want people to hear me that much, especially in this big kind of way, my voice being out there. Like I've been really hermiting for a lot of years now. Yes, and I wanted to challenge myself. I wanted to go through this, and for me, as I told you, I didn't have an agenda about me wanted to promote myself or in any way. It was just about me. Wanted to talk to you about design and life, which is what we're doing. Yeah, thank you so much.